Hi, Bothered Brigade. Here's what's bothering me today. I have basically finally been forced to talk about Quebec and the whole Ronald McDonald House affair because I'm seeing a lot of misinformation going around, and it's kind of ridiculous, especially considering that Beau of the Fifth Column, whose video I will link down below, he already made a video on this, whereas very few other people that I've seen have made videos about this. And he's American, down in Florida, so, guess it's time that I finally kind of talk about this horse shit that's going on in various corners of the country. So let's start first of all with the Ronald McDonald House thing. So to sum up, for those who haven't yet watched the Beau the Fifth Column video, Ronald McDonald House basically runs facilities so that parents and family members of children with things like leukemia and terminal illness and stuff like that, they provide facilities so that the parents can be near their child while they are undergoing treatment and surgery, etc., at hospitals. And so they recently issued this policy that said everyone over the age of 5 had to be vaccinated or else they would be evicted. Now, of course, the outrage manufacture machine that is right-wing media has decided to take this and run whole hog with this, saying, oh, this is clearly evil and you're evicting us. For example, there's this one really viral video of a father who's making a big stink about this and confronting an administrator with this paper. Maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't. Honestly, in general, not worth your time, because while the parents' anger is understandable, it's not justifiable, and we're going to get to that. The core about this, right, as even the administrator in the video says, is that, no, the child wouldn't be evicted, but you would have to be. And even then, that's not entirely correct, which we're going to get to. And so the reason why this whole situation is so infuriating and insufferable to me is that the part that gets often left out of the story as they just try and be like, boycott McDonald's and this is so evil and they're targeting the unvaccinated. They are providing alternate accommodations because they're not entirely monstrous. Because they recognize that, oh, you know what? Parents, and especially young immune-compromised children, need to be with their family members. But then that directly segues into the second part of this that no one on the right seems to want to talk about or comprehend, which is the fact that, are you serious? Are you actually fucking serious and out of your minds right now, where you are going to put not only your child, but other sick immune-compromised children at risk because you refuse to get vaccinated while you've had numerous chances to do so, while a particularly infectious variant runs rampant and hospitalizations are already so goddamn high, nurses are already quitting in droves, staffs and ambulances are nowhere to be found, hospitals everywhere from like Peel region to Ottawa have been shut down because they don't have enough staff. Are you fucking serious right now? Which then brings us to Quebec, because it's basically just been a 1-2 punch of, oh, poor me, I am unvaccinated, and thus the target of severe repression. Meanwhile, the indigenous population would like a fucking word with you, by the way. But recently, in Quebec, they decided to tax the unvaxxed. And some people have talked about this and pointed out how, oh, haha, kind of funny, or, oh, whatever works, or this is actually really not good. And here's the thing, right? Constitutionally, this likely isn't going to stand. But then again, that means we'd have to talk about the whole Quebec and constitutional crisis and the notwithstanding clause. God, I fucking hate that thing sometimes. But that's a subject for an entirely different goddamn time. The core premise, right, is that Quebec currently sits more or less at about 90% vaccination. They're just trying to get the other 10% to become vaccinated. So already, right, that should show the whole, oh, we anti-vaxxers, we're actually a movement and we're bigger than ever. It's like, second largest province in the country already has 90% vaccination. So right there, you're like 10% of like 30% of the population. So, but what's happening is that everyone's all in a big old tizzy and running scared because, oh, there's been lockdowns and curfews in Montreal and they're doing all this crazy taxing stuff. And the other thing that happened was if you wanted to go and buy alcohol at the SAQ or Le Sac in Quebec, you needed to be vaccinated, which led to, surprise, surprise, an uptick in the number of people seeking their first dose administration. Now, That's, entirely feasible in terms of they are establishing their own, businesses have rights and all that horse shit. They're establishing their own guidelines for what is required to then enter their business. This still could raise a constitutional, legality question, as well as, of course, the taxing the unvaxxed by applying a fee or, the tax to people who, get sick with COVID and go to the hospital, or they just, still aren't being vaxxed. Try and hit them in their pocketbooks, right? However, weirdly enough, I have a problem with this, but I'll explain. Generally speaking, in a great many ways, coercing people isn't going to be the silver bullet that gets everything done at the end. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't recognize that something is a problem until it directly impacts them or someone they know and love. This is regrettably, unfortunately true. And so seeing the, push, be it termed authoritarian or otherwise, to basically tax people, which, creates a kind of weird two-tiered healthcare system, which I'm very much against, by the way, as well as trying to coerce the final people, I don't see that actually working or paying off. What ended up weirdly paying off, right, was, people want to go and buy liquor in Quebec? Well, then you gotta be vaccinated because that's a requirement for getting into these, liquor stores, basically. However, there are certain liquor stores where you can buy, beer casually at a corner store. So that still doesn't solve the final push over the hill to get to full vaccination/herd immunity. So what can be done? What needs to happen with regards to the final push for full vaccination, because obviously it's not going to sit well with a lot of people, as we're seeing right now, if they're basically being told or forced to do something. You're just going to get more pushback. You basically need to trick these people, or better yet, just sit down with doctors and people that they may trust and slowly but surely win them over with facts, reason, logic, even emotional appeals. I have heard various stories of people who have had unvaccinated family members and friends, acquaintances, coworkers, etc., who finally were convinced to become vaccinated when they had a lot of the misinformation disproven time and time again and calmly by those that they, respected and loved. That's how you actually change people's minds. And unfortunately, no, it's not going to be immediate and instantaneous. That's the problem with that approach. But it's really the only viable long-term approach to get people to sit down with their family doctors, which unfortunately not everyone has because, again, problems with the system up here. But that's one avenue to do it. Sit down, talk with your family doctor. Sit down and talk in roundtables with people that you know and love who have gotten the vaccine and whose opinions you respect. Talk to them. And if you're someone who has been vaccinated and you have family members who are hesitant, talk to them about it. That's how I've gotten some people that I know to finally be like, okay, you know what? Yeah, maybe I should go do this thing. Or unfortunately, like I mentioned earlier, someone they know and love got sick or possibly very sick and in unfortunately a few cases died. And that's what pushed them to go and get the vaccine. But I don't want any more unnecessary death and unnecessary taking up of ICU capacity in an overstressed system. But the way to get people to do that is not through taxation and coercion. That's not going to get the job done. That's only going to provide a pause. If you want to get the job done, you need to do some real serious work. But unfortunately, Quebec and various other provinces aren't interested in doing that. And unfortunately, the people that you have to try and convince are so clearly out to lunch, one wonders if it's even really possible, which again raises really terrible, awful questions. And it's all so exhausting, especially because this is all so unnecessary. And that's what's bothering me today.